Hey there, welcome back to Spartan Entertainment and Electronics. I'm your host Ryan, and today we're having a look at Netflix's production Space Force. The program stars and is co-created by Steve Carell from The Office, Anchorman, and Despicable Me. It's also co-created by Greg Daniels, one of the minds behind American version of The Office. The show also features other fantastic comedic talents and actors such as John Malkovich, Lisa Kudrow, Fred Willard, and Jane Lynch, just to name a few. We could be here for a little too long to list off all the talent starring or featured in this program. The show is a satirical workplace comedy premised around the development of a sixth branch of the United States Armed Services, the United States Space Force. The inaugural season of this show, which has 10 episodes, does some things well, misses the mark for me quite often, unfortunately, and I think just had bad timing based on world events at the time of writing and recording this review. Before we get rolling, if you're new to the channel, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. I post new videos at least once a week and don't want you to miss anything. If you like this review, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, and let me know in the comments what you thought of Space Force. To start off, the show had some pretty solid humorous moments and entertaining one-liners.
How much was that prototype?
4 million? Middle schools. Cost as much as 4 new middle schools.
My girlfriend likened them to Arrested Development meets The Office. Both are series I have not seen, but based on The Office and Space Force sharing a writer, it makes sense. Unfortunately, it was not my typical kind of humor, which is why I have not watched Arrested Development or The Office, and that lowered the amount to which I appreciated those elements. There were jokes in here I did enjoy, but a lot of them fell a little flat with me. Through and after the third episode, I found the profile to change and it became more appealing to my sense of humor. So if you don't find the first few episodes funny, keep in mind that the show evolves as it progresses and you may find more enjoyment of it in later episodes.
But space is hard.
May I suggest that become the new Space Force motto?
It was the 7th episode before I really started to get into it and enjoy it. The cast is fantastic. I love Steve Carell in most roles he portrays. I also love John Malkovich in most roles he takes on, especially in Red. Retired and Extremely Dangerous. I wish they had used the Joint Chiefs cast more extensively. They really had minor roles until the final episode, and by then it was too late as the season was over. If there is a second season, which I have my doubts that there will be, I hope they get that cast back and utilize them more. Space Force has not been renewed for a second season at the time of writing this review. The actress selected for Carell's daughter was okay, she did a fine job, but I don't know if it was the best selection for the role. There was an awkwardness around Diana Silver's character, and it seemed to be because of the choice of actress, or how the character was developed. The character just didn't fit in as well as I would have liked, considering the size of the role. Another character I would have liked to have seen developed differently is Lisa Kudrow's. She plays the role of Admiral Mark Naird's wife. Admiral Mark Naird is Steve Carell's character. Something happens with Lisa Kudrow's character, and they never divulge or discuss what happened. It just ends up being this big elephant in the room for most of the entire season. I'd like to see that addressed if there is a second season. However, it seems to be a specific choice to not address that, so it may stay unanswered.
How many times do I need to apologize?
On the flip side, I really enjoyed how the dynamic was developed between Carell and Malkovich's characters. We go on an approximately 5.5-hour journey with these two characters, their ups and downs, and watching that relationship and camaraderie evolve. The show seems at times to be more focused on the relationships of the characters and addressing the challenges of those connections, more than being the comedy it's presented as. I'm okay with how they went that way, as it was handled quite well and allowed an emotional investment into the characters as they go through their trials and tribulations with others and themselves. Keeping the series in comedic check, going through some of the serious moments were the characters Brad, played by Don Lake, and F. Tony, played by Ben Schwartz. I loved one of these characters and wanted to strangle the other. Let me know down in the comments which you think was which. As these characters took over the humor mantle is when I started to find the show a little funnier. Just the way the one character handled the jokes was more enjoyable to me. I appreciated that the show was a little more of a grounded satire and looked at the work-life balancing act that a lot of us struggle with, as opposed to trying to just be another workplace comedy. The satirical elements focused on a few topics, ranging from POTUS tweeting policy updates, the development of the United States Space Force, the relationship between the United States and China, as well as the relationship between the United States and Russia. The one statement I kept waiting for that never got thrown in was no collusion. I was waiting for the Secretary of Defense to throw that out there, and it just never happened. I was a little disappointed, just a little bit. The satire was well handled and an entertaining view of the current state of affairs with those relationships as they stand in the world right now. It will be interesting to see how the show has addressed these topics stands the test of time as interactions between those countries change. I think the length of the season was fantastic. A total of 10 episodes at approximately 30 minutes each brings the season in at a little bit over 5 hours. So it's nice if you get into it more than I did, you can binge it in an evening, or you can take a more relaxed approach and watch one episode with dinner or dessert over the course of 10 nights. I complained about Netflix programs still abiding to that cable TV mentality and leaving room for commercials in a different review I've done, and I was really appreciative that this show did not do that. The episodes were much more consistent in being around that 30-minute mark. Cable TV shows typically clock in around 22 minutes, leaving time for commercial breaks. Unfortunately for this show, and what may leave it dead for a second season, is timing. Although it was good, it just felt off with some of what is going on in the world at the time of recording this. Again, this is unfortunate, as it is an okay series. I think if it had have come out maybe a month or 6 weeks earlier, preceding the death of George Floyd, this wouldn't have been the case. However, the timing went to shit. It came out in the midst of protesting and civil unrest in the United States, and that has, in my opinion, harmed it. This has left some of what should have been comedic gold just feeling a little off or out of place. Again, this is nothing against the show, simply wrong place, wrong time. I will be curious to watch it again in a few months once the protests and unrests have been band-aided and a state of normalcy has returned. I enjoyed the first season of Space Force from Netflix, however I didn't love it. I would be willing to give Season 2 a chance if it ever gets greenlit, but I would like to see them answer some of the questions I was left with, and I would hope that it releases under more favorable circumstances for the show. I give Space Force a 6 out of 10. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future reviews, and I do have more in the works. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit that thumbs up button, and also let me know in the comments what you thought of Space Force. Do you agree with me, or do you have a completely different take on the show? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.